Hey there, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that the world's leading B2B Marketing Expo is returning to the Los Angeles Convention Center on March 21st and 22nd. It's high time we got back together to learn, see the latest technologies and solutions, and network, right? Join thousands of marketing professionals just like you to learn from over 250 industry expert speakers, educational masterclasses, and over 300 exhibitors. And this year, your ticket also gets you into the Sales Innovation Expo and the Marketing and Advertising Expo. So it's like 3 conferences in one. It's March 21st and 22nd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Go to b2bmarketingexpo.us to register. That's b2bmarketingexpo.us. The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of the B2B Marketing Expo for 2023. We'll see you in LA.
As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Linda Fanaras.
You can't be everything to everyone. And there is what I call white space in the market. And if you can uncover that white space and grab onto that white space as part of your sort of overall strategy, it allows you to really differentiate yourself. And that's what you really need to do.
Linda Fanaras is CEO and strategist of Millennium Agency, an award-winning executive marketer with exceptional leadership and communication skills, relationship-building expertise, and a proven track record in executing strategic marketing campaigns that improve marketing ROI and CLV. Linda is highly experienced in brand analysis and structure, positioning and messaging that engages, the development of integrated digital marketing campaigns, and the formulation of creative concepts of B2B manufacturing and software technology. Focused on motivational and positive, inclusive leadership skills, she drives marketing teams to achieve exceptional results. Linda, welcome to On Brand.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here. I'm happy to speak to you today about B2B branding and messaging and strategy work.
Yeah, so, that's a whole lot of stuff that we've backed up the flatbed truck to load up and talk about. So, I think a good first question is when it comes to everything that you just mentioned, marketing, strategy, branding, positioning, and when you put the B2B in front of it, people get a little scared. They clench up a bit. So what's different about all of this work when it comes to the B2B space?
That's a great question. So when you're doing conducting B2B branding and messaging and strategy work, you really have to focus in on the actual end target audience that you're going after. And that can sometimes get a little complicated. It might not be something related to like CPG where you may be focused on a woman aged 35 to 55 or anything like that. But in this type of instance, you're looking at what type of company am I getting? Am I interested in targeting? Who is the target audience that I need to really go after? What is their title? What do they like? What do they like to do? What do they do during the course of their day? What makes them tick? Where can I find them where they may not typically be how do I get to them? Because it may be a little bit more difficult than getting into the mass markets. So a B2B is really a business that's going after another business audience versus a B2C where they're going after a consumer audience. So that's how you differentiate it.
So, I love that framing of it too, because I feel like whether we are completely right on it, we at least have an idea on what that consumer side of things looks like. We need to know and understand a person. When it comes to knowing and understanding a business, and defining them as an audience, what are the important things to consider?
Yeah. So when you're defining a specific audience, first of all, you need to determine what you're selling, especially when it comes to businesses, because they have the opportunity to go after different types of industries where their product or service may fit into. And it's really important for a B2B company to decide, like, where can they leverage their existing customer base? So where are they currently getting their customers? What type of revenue are those customers generating? And how do I leverage those opportunities to grow that industry base in some form? So it's really important for B2B companies to look at their current sales, their current marketing strategies, and how they can grow those markets by continuing to go after those sort of top level markets in a more effective way. So identifying them is number one, and looking at revenues is key. And also making sure, as I said earlier, you really understand who that audience is. And the more narrow you can get on this, the more successful you will be at it.
That's an important point there that you tacked on at the end. So bears repeating, because I think a lot of times we want everyone, and it comes from a bit of a place of fear. Oh, I don't know that I want to make sure that I've that we've left every possible door open. But what we end up doing more often than not is diluting what our message is, and who it is we're trying to reach.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it gets, a lot of times companies will really try to spread their wings and say, oh, we want to go after, here's all these different industries we want to go after. And here are all these different people that we want to communicate to. And, we have such an opportunity here, but no, that's really where when you want to put the brakes on and say, okay, where are our biggest opportunities and who are those people, and take that piece to the next level. And I think that's where people get a little bit of really hung up, because the more narrow you can be, the more successful you could be. And just like any sort of marketing campaign or digital strategy, you can't spread yourself too thin or you're ineffective. Your media becomes at a low frequency and you're not really able to penetrate any of the markets. And the idea here is focus, figure out the markets, and then penetrate those markets with the dollars that you have available to you to do the best job that you can do.
Boy, if I wanted a really smart answer to what are most people doing wrong, I feel like you kind of summed it up there on the need for focus and doing some of that work before or before to make sure that you know what you need to know before starting a campaign that is designed to achieve those results. So we've been talking about some of the background work that goes into this. You have a proprietary process in transforming market research into marketing campaigns, and that baton handoff is important and not as well understood as it should be. So how do we take that base that we've just, we've eaten our vegetables, we've done the things that we don't always think of in terms of that research and understanding the audience foundation. What's that baton handoff look like?
Yeah, so research is really, really important. And I do like to focus in on, and some companies cringe when they hear this, but I do like to focus in on having focus groups doing some quantitative and qualitative research to make sure you really understand what resonates with the market. And just to back that up a little bit, we do some initial research, and then based on what we spoke about earlier, is once you define your audience, once you define your messaging, once you define your industry and then your audience, you really have to define your messaging. So you have to speak to that person in a way that actually makes sense to them, that actually motivates them, engages them, gets them excited. You're not going to talk to a CEO the same way you might talk to like a frontline manager. So you really want to get your language down and your story right. And the quicker you do that and get through that process, the more effective you will be. And to just sort of tie back to your baton question, once the research is conducted and you go through that entire process and you determine, okay, this campaign strategy sounds great, this messaging seems like it resonates, it doesn't hurt to go back out and really survey out in a quantitative way whether that messaging will resonate or what maybe out of your options would resonate most creatively and through messaging. And if you can define that during the survey process, you've hit a home run. And we've done that time and time again. So it's a multi-step process. Although can be time consuming, it can also save you money on the other end, which is a great thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you talk about getting your language and story down, and especially when it comes to different audiences, frontline, leadership, and so forth. What's the best way? Is it surveying to make sure that you're saying the right thing to the right people at the right time?
Yes, absolutely. What do they say? The product for the right price,
Yeah.
the right point, the right promotion, the right everything, right? So absolutely, it's definitely getting that message to the right person at the right time. And the timing can be a little tricky. And I also, I like to speak about the fact that there you can't be everything to everyone. And there is what I call white space in the market. And if you can uncover that white space and grab onto that white space as part of your sort of overall strategy, it allows you to really differentiate yourself. And that's what you really need to do. You don't want to be just like everybody else. So why would they choose you? I always say it's a customer. Well, so what makes you so special? Like, why would I buy your product or use your service over, you know, Joe's shop right next door? And if they don't have a straight, solid answer, then it's time to really do some homework and dig in.
I love that idea of white space in the market too, because I feel like we don't gravitate to it as much as we should, or we don't handle the opportunity correctly. Probably back to the aforementioned focus issue or lack thereof. Before we jump into measuring these campaigns and knowing that we've done what we need to do, I feel like speaking of baton handoffs, and I might mix metaphors here, but I feel like once we get to the execution stage of the race, that what happens there looks a little bit different than it used to. It was kind of just push the button, launch, and it's away. And
Right.
now it feels like there's more ongoing work involved. Is that align with what you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. So in order to launch a successful campaign in a large way, it has to be multifaceted. So it would include different things like social media and maybe paid digital and possibly email marketing and SEO optimization and so on and so on and so on. So the list can be pretty comprehensive, and I kind of look at it like a whole hub and spoke model. So the hub maybe being you want to drive leads to your website. The spokes are all the different initiatives that you would do, as I mentioned earlier, social media, email marketing, digital ads, so on. So that has to work like a greased wheel, meaning that when you launch that, you want to launch it, you want to sync it up. So you want to launch it in a very synced up manner. So your penetration is greater and your traction is, is stronger. And that's the idea here, is really to take that hub and spoke model, build out a plan, execute seamlessly, which can be tricky, obviously, for a lot of marketers, and then go back and track that and the effectiveness in it, because you may find that social media isn't working that great, or maybe, doing email cadences are not really that effective. And that allows you to really improve your marketing ROI.
On Brand will be right back after this. As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn Ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that the world's leading B2B Marketing Expo is returning to the Los Angeles Convention Center on March 21st and 22nd. It's high time we got back together to learn, see the latest technologies and solutions, and network, right? Join thousands of marketing professionals just like you to learn from over 250 industry expert speakers, educational masterclasses, and over 300 exhibitors. And this year, your ticket also gets you into the Sales Innovation Expo and the Marketing and Advertising Expo. So it's like 3 conferences in one. It's March 21st and 22nd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Go to b2bmarketingexpo.us to register. That's b2bmarketingexpo.us. The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of the B2B Marketing Expo for 2023. We'll see you in LA.
Now, back to the show. So, in talking about improving marketing ROI, we've planned the campaign, we've researched it, we've executed, we've launched. How do we know in an increasingly distracting and data-filled world, how do we know that we've actually done what we wanted to do?
Mm-hmm. So I love to track. Obviously, every customer has a value to them. So let's say a prospective client brings in 10 new customers a month. They have 100 total customers. They've been able to track their customer lifetime value. So maybe it costs them $10,000 to get in the door, but over the lifetime of their customer, based on their retention, maybe they're worth $200,000 or $500,000. And those are the types of things you really do need to track. It's not about, we got like 3,000 impressions this month. No, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So you absolutely want to take those impressions, translate those into conversions, which means they called or they emailed you or they contacted you in some other fashion, and then taking that the next step and saying, okay, how many have we closed, or how many are valid, or what percentage of those are valid? Maybe there's 30% that are valid. Maybe out of those 30%, you'll close 5%. And then from that 5%, you can determine, okay, what are my growth opportunities here? And that's the type of tracking that we like to see.
So
talk a bit about, there's a lot in your work centered around motivation and positivity when it comes to leadership. And I think especially in the last couple of years that we've been through, and honestly the years ahead in what is a changing world of work, that motivation and positivity is absolutely critical. But that, kind of like every topic we've talked about today, from B2B
Mhm.
audience analysis and measuring ROI in a changing landscape, these aren't easy items to check off of a list. So, talk a bit about motivation and positivity in a changing world of work for marketers.
Yeah, that's great because marketers, do suffer from burnout. It's not an easy job,
Yeah.
and I will say that it's a multifaceted job, which is so interesting. It requires a set of creative abilities, and it also requires an analytical mind. So it's very unique in a way. But I would say since the pandemic, obviously a lot of C-level suite, a lot of people in just general have been through a lot, and a lot of people are frankly exhausted from that. So as far as positivity is concerned, I mean, I feel like, to be a good leader, it's important to have sort of a guiding path of where you want to take the company, and making sure that the people understand what that focus is, and that they, are on board and they can help you achieve those goals. So we all know it's hard to get, you can get somewhere faster if you're by yourself, but if you want to get there, for sure you want to take a team with you. And I think just trying to maintain a set of cohesiveness, being as positive as you can. I think as a leader should take the time that they need to rejuvenate themselves, because they do have a tough job. And I think, I really think that that's important, is having those sort of guiding principles, building a cohesive, collaborative group, and then also just, working together to create a culture that is respectful, honest, authentic. And, I just, I guess maybe I look at it very simply, but that's how I view it.
Well, I think that it's also important in thinking about this, to consider, what we can do to prevent that. I mean, you said burnout in marketers, and as we're recording this, we're in the midst of a holiday season.
Mhm.
It is a lot, and I also think the other thing factored in there that we've touched on a few different times is this, I said changing world of work mostly from the employee wellness point of view, but on the other side of things, it is changing for marketers. Kind of the norm for the past decade in marketing is just constant flux,
Mhm.
and that is exhausting to keep up with. So, as marketers in the new year, what can we do to both stay sane and to keep our teams sane?
Is that a trick question?
Yeah.
I would say, to keep sane, it is important for marketers, and I hate to use this word, but I feel like marketers have to be extraordinarily organized and be proactive. So, what happens in a marketing role is, once you start to get behind on whatever you're working on, it starts to snowball, and it can really cause like a negative effect, not only on them as an employee, but on the company. So marketers have to be very like strategic in their thinking, and look ahead. So I think, with that said, that's a key component of keeping them sane. And to my point earlier, I feel like people need to look at what makes them tick. Some people just like downtime. Maybe they don't want to talk to somebody, anybody for the weekend or whatever the case may be. Or maybe somebody else would love to go out and have a good time and hit the bars with their friends. So whatever that is, to give that person the diversity that they need to rebalance themselves, I think is really important. Otherwise, you will get off balance faster than you can even imagine.
Well, and another potentially trick question. You talked about knowing what makes people tick. That is probably a responsibility of a leader, I am guessing, but that's not an easy thing to do. So how can we be better leaders of marketers and understand that, what makes them tick?
Yeah, I had another C-level colleague of mine say to me, I had all my staff take the five love languages test, and we did it as a group. And that test identifies like what makes a person like feel good. So it might be something like maybe one person would like to get a gift card versus another person might just like appreciation, where another person might like a company outing. And by taking like a very simple and free test like that, you're actually able to identify sort of the inner workings of a person and what makes that person tick. Because, like I might just like to, grab lunch with somebody where somebody else wants to do, get, like I said, a gift card. So I think being able to identify that on a little bit of a deeper, more emotional level can be super valuable for any leader.
That is a really good point, and that's a great test. I love it. I know that my language is service, so I'm all about like trying to do things for people, which it was for years thinking, oh, that's just the best thing that I do. And sometimes it can be very stressful when someone needs something else. They don't need you and your list of how you're going to fix things.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Linda, this conversation and all of the tough questions that you have answered flawlessly and unflinchingly have made me smile. Now it is time for me to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
Yes, I have one. So this brand is called lazy1.com. And I don't think they're that well known, but this is a great time to check them out, especially during the holiday season, because they sell these stylish PJs and robes and slippers, and they're founded in Utah. And what's so awesome about them is that they don't use everything's like dye. They use like dye-free clothing, and they're into sustainability, and they have really great environmental practices. And the cute thing is they have apparel for, like, they have little onesies for kids, and they have things for pets, and they also have it for adults, so the whole family can match into one set. And then they have these cute little sayings in the back, like maybe special delivery, or like no peeking, or it's just adorable. Their patterns are adorable, and those sayings on the products are adorable. So yeah, lazy1.com. I think it's an awesome little brand that I encountered last year, and I'm looking at them again this year for some gifts.
I love it. Well, I've not heard of them, but we'll absolutely check them out. And at the very least, if all the stuff that we talked about in this episode is too hard, at the very least, go get yourself some comfortable loungewear to think through all of this in. So,
absolutely.
Linda, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So they can visit www.mill.agency, no .com or anything. So it's just mill.agency, or they can connect with me on LinkedIn, which is Linda Fanaras, and that's Fanaras.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Linda, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you, Nick. It was great to be here today.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.